What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Robinson, and this is another episode of Let's Take a Walk. I hope everybody had an awesome week. I want to wish all the fathers out there an early happy Father's Day. I hope you get the ties that you like, and the cards, and the drawn pictures and all that. Definitely looking forward to this weekend. But anyways, enough of that. Tonight we have another awesome guest coming to the platform. She is a returning guest, actually, and I'm totally excited to talk to her. This is Miss Sacha Walton. She is an author now. She adds an author to her repertoire.
Yeah.
And she is the owner and founder of SWI Management. She is a strategist of sorts. I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah.
Again, for those of you who may not be familiar with Miss Sacha and her movement, I'm going to give her a moment to kind of reintroduce herself and give a little background on all she has going on. So with that being said, Miss Sacha, you got the floor.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for being here. And Mike, thank you for having me on your show tonight. So once again, I'm Sacha Walton. I am the founder of SWI Management Group, and I am a business strategist, an author of the book that we're going to talk about tonight, and also so many other things on my list. But yeah, I just want to focus on the top one right now, which is the book.
Okay. She insists on talking about the book.
I feel like
but we're gonna try to maneuver
throw it out there. I'm good.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning. What made you want to write a book? Like, was it a dream? Was it a vision? Was it a series of events that happened? Did something happen and you was like, you know what, let me write this book because these people don't know what the heck they're doing. Let me write this down. Let me write this book so people can get a clue. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so I didn't really have the desire. I wasn't like one of those ones like, I gotta write a book. But what happened was I've always been working with music artists in the past. And it got to a point where I was just like, well, instead of me, wanting to just go into consulting, because that was my next phase after the management, it was just like going to consulting. And I was like, well, I could reach more people if I write a book and just put the knowledge in the book instead of just trying to just work with people, as they came or as I just, sought them out or whatever. And then it also gave me that thing of, everybody else talk about how good it is to write a book. Let me go ahead and join the bandwagon with that. But it was more so with just being able to reach more people. And I started the process in August, and it's so many times it's supposed to have been ready, but then I finally released it in May.
Okay. So what's the, maybe I'm ahead of going a little bit ahead, but like, what's the ultimate goal? Like, what is your goal for this book? Like, what do you want people to get out of this book?
All right. So the book is called Beyond Music, and it is a music artist entrepreneurship guide. So my whole purpose is to really spread that narrative. It could be something that's not too familiar with people in what they teach these days. A lot of times when artists are learning about the music business, they're more so learning about the steps of the actual, components of music business, the contracts, the release, the, publishing, and all those things that fall in line with that. But rarely do they see themselves as entrepreneurs. And my whole goal was to, if I came back into the working with the industry in the music business, I didn't want to say the same thing everybody else was saying. So I wanted to create my own niche and a new niche and a new voice when it comes down to entrepreneurship. So I said, well, you know what? This book is going to be about entrepreneurship. I'm going to keep it at that. But also it helps the artist it's a mindset shift, shifting their mindsets to really look at themselves as not only as a creative, but also
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur first, because really that's what they are. You're out here, you're producing music. Your music is your product. You're out here, you're following the same, almost similar formats. It's just a different industry. So you got to have a marketing plan. You have to know how to reach your target audience, who is your fans. There's so many different outlets and platforms that you have to do. You got to get your royalties, all these things. It's the same thing as a business owner managing a business. It's
Mhm.
just that you're in a different arena. You're in a different area of business. So shifting that mindset and really looking at it from that perspective can help an independent music artist. I mean, the book is for any artist, but primarily for the independent music artist, because a lot of times you're doing the work yourself until you really build a team. It helps you to really think of it from a different perspective. You add more strategy to what you're doing, and you can understand the science and the why behind why you have to do everything you have to do in the music industry when you're hitting that pavement of the business. So that was the whole purpose of the book. And then in the past, whenever I work with artists, I have a background in business. So my background in business, owning the business, working corporately, all those things, degrees, I just formed and poured everything into what I do, whether it was on my business side with the business strategy, development, events, but also had that same mindset with the artist. So not only are you meeting those surface goals of, yeah, I want to hit this, I want to get on billboards, I want to do all these things, but also how can you sustain as an artist? So a lot of times that longevity comes from a business mindset. And so voila, we got the book. I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Wow, sorry about that. One thing I observed from reading the book, I haven't got a chance to finish all of it, but I read a good portion of it. And one observation that I had overall was just how direct. It's very direct. Like there's not a whole lot of flowery, fluffy stuff. You're getting right to it. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this. Now,
Right.
was that on purpose? Was that a purposeful act, or did it just kind of come out that way?
Yeah, it was both because I believe in getting straight to the point.
Hmm.
And, I'm not like, I can write, I like to write, but I am not along going to school. You know how you're in school,
Hmm.
in college, you got to write all these long papers and
Right,
everything. Nah, look, if they told me I had to have a 700 word count and I could get it done in like 4, why can't we do it at 4?
right,
but,
right,
but I really
right.
wanted the book. I didn't want it to be super long. I wanted it to be more impactful by the content in it versus the length of it. And make it an easy read. And in that way, people can just really go through it. One of the plus about the book is the fact that it's an interactive book. It has note pages in it. You could take notes and you have a
Hmm.
resource page and all those things. So I wanted to come out to be a little different. I didn't want to just have a book. I wanted to be unique. I'm a unique person. Things that I put out there are unique and just stand out. So I wanted to really be in that format. So, I call it my hybrid, but it's supposed to be like a journal slash book because you
Hmm.
can take notes and everything. But it did start out to be like almost 7 chapters, and those chapters were really, really long. But I
Hmm.
took out a lot of information that I had in there because like I said, I wanted that focus to be on primarily entrepreneurship. I tied in the pieces with the music business just to show you why you should think as an entrepreneur. But as far as like the length of it and everything, yeah, just straight to the point. And that's how pretty much in the introduction I started out. It's like, look, this is going to be like as if we're having a conversation.
Right.
If I'm consulting you, this is how it's going to be. And I just go ahead and get it done, make it simple. bam, bam. It's just, and then also being, mindful that everybody, any artist or whoever may pick up the book, sometimes if you are long and drawn out, it may take away because it's more of an information book. It's not like you're reading something fun or, like a fiction or a novel or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
information. So, having it more impactful is a lot better to people, who just want to go ahead and just do a quick read and just get it done. So that was the whole purpose behind
Oh, wow.
it.
So in your research and just overall in your process, what have you found to be the if not the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes, aspiring entrepreneurs make when they're first starting out? What's one of the biggest mistakes that they?
They don't have a plan. A
Mm,
lot of times all entrepreneurs, it don't even, you could be an artist, you could be having a product or service. A lot of times people start by, they do something well, they do it good. Some people are like, oh yeah, you should start a business. And they go ahead and just start the business.
mm,
A lot of times people know, oh, I got to get my business license, or they'll think about the LLC, but they won't write out that strategic plan. So when you're looking at it from that process, it's like, how can you really build upon something you haven't laid the foundation for?
right.
And that strategic process of the business plan and the planning, that's where it all comes in at. And that way you can always know that you have your goals out there. You have something that you can always refer to. And and then I see a lot lately where people will go and build a brand without even laying the foundation.
Mm,
And you can't even, you technically, and I know people might chime in, but like, oh no, she tripping. No, you cannot build a brand without the foundation of your business. And just like an architect can't build a building if they don't lay the blueprint.
right.
Because you can go and you could be successful, but sometimes some people get hit the ceiling and don't know where to track from next. And that's when sometimes when somebody might say, oh, well, I think I reached the ceiling. Let me go ahead and start another business. Or let me do this instead of just really fortifying what you had and just going forward. Some
Right.
people may not be successful. They be like, okay, they're still spinning their wheels because they haven't laid that foundation. So you
Mm,
have to do that. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing it that, the branding, yes, it is there, but you still have the brand actually comes out of your business plan, your vision. So your brand messaging, all of that, when people go that route before they lay that foundation, they're skipping the steps. They're
mhm,
skipping the steps. They're looking at it from, oh, this is what it can be at the end point. So I'm gonna go ahead and just knock out what I don't need and go ahead and do everything else well.
mhm.
But it doesn't, it still may not work for everybody. So I feel like that's one of the, well, two of the main mistakes that people actually make is entrepreneurship.
Okay. And okay, so on the flip side of that, what's what's a sign that someone is successful? You know what? I'll hold that question. You said branding,
Mhm.
right? What is branding? What exactly is it? We hear it in business and we think we know what it is. Like, okay, so like with me, I'll speak for myself. Like to me, branding is okay, like faith over fear. That's my t-shirts. I make these, right?
Mhm.
So is branding me wearing the t-shirts all the time, everywhere I go? What
Mhm.
or is there a certain art or nuances that I'm not aware of? What is branding?
So branding in a whole, that's a part of it. So some people may look at the pieces of it. Branding as a whole is the reflect. I like to put it like this: it's the reflection of your business to the public. Okay. So if you have a vision, you have a vision statement, you got your mission statement, all this other stuff. You already know how you want everything to look, how you want it to be with your business. You want to convey that message. So once you, let's say, do it like this: you got your foundation, you're doing your business plan, and you're doing your marketing, right? Marketing is the vehicle to get you move your business forward. The branding is what it looks like. The branding is what people receive, is what they see, is what they hear, is what you produce. So it's not just the colors. Some people just focus on color theory, they focus on the colors, the logos, all this other stuff. That's a part of it. They may look at the brand messaging. Your brand messaging should be based on your vision statement of your business, period. Not just saying this is the brand message alone. If you think
Mhm,
about your bigger corporations, you got Coca-Cola, you got Pepsi,
mhm,
Frito-Lay. all these major companies, that's been around for a long time, you
Right.
know, you see it from the end, and what you see is their brand. They have made it their purpose to show this is what they're about. This is the culture of their business. This is how we want people to see us. This is how we want it to be reflected upon. This is what we want them to see. This is how we want to look. And all of that comes from the business planning. That's why I said you can't build a brand without laying down that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to build it without the foundation, it's going to leave cracky leaks. That's why sometimes people change their color schemes a lot. They're like, "Oh, I need to rebrand. I need to do this." You don't. But you need to just establish something strong enough to
Right.
keep going. And if you're going to rebrand, it should be a update, to what you're doing, not just a complete changeover. It
Right.
should be an add-on, and so that's one of the things. That's really what branding is. I have a saying when I look at all of the components together, and I say that the marketing plan is the plan that moves the business plan forward. And the branding plan and the strategy is what you convey to the public. So when you're looking at all those components all together and they're moving, that's that vehicle. It's moving the vehicle along, and your business is that vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
A car can't move unless that the wheels are on the axles.
Right.
And the axles can't move unless it's attached to the powertrain.
Right.
So it's the same. It's a process. It's a process. But people, they want to go ahead and just do the wheels, but then they're gonna be turning it like they're on a bike. You know what I'm saying? It's like you
Yeah.
get, or how it is. If you're riding and your tire rod comes out and you hit a bump and your tire rod, your whole wheel is gonna fall off.
Right.
So
Right.
it's that principle. It's the principle behind it. So I think that when people look at it from the full perspective of what branding really is, then they'll understand that, okay, now I see why I have to pull all these pieces together to make it a sustainable business, not just a profitable business, not just a business that say, oh yeah, we're successful in this area, but you're lacking in another, so.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's so many. I think that to your point, I think that a lot of people don't do their due diligence. Like we watch how other people do things, and we think that that's supposed to fit what
Yeah.
we're supposed to do, or we interpret certain things that they're doing as one thing when it's really another. Like that's which is why I asked, like, what is branding? What is actually,
Mm-hmm.
what is actually um, branding? Um, how would a person know? Let's, for instance, an artist. Let's talk about an artist.
Mm-hmm.
How does a person go about knowing who they should target? Like, I write this song. I might be 23 years old. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? But this song, this specific this song that I've written may or may not reflect my age and all that. So
Right.
how does a person know who to market their things to, their products to? What is that process?
So I would say the process for artists should really look like they look at what type of sound you want to create, okay? But they also listen to what the sound is already out there. Look at what people are already gravitating to. Do you want to be like those type of artists, or do you want to stand out? And then when you do that, what type of message are you going to put into your music? That right there helps you to identify the market, is when you really think it out first before writing. So a lot of times artists will just write it because they hear the lyrics, and they're gonna just write it out. Or they got the melody in their head and they're gonna write it out. And then they're gonna say, oh, this is dope. They look at it from their perspective and think that everybody else is gonna want to hear it and want to buy it. But that's not always the case. So when you're thinking about it, so if you're going to be a trendy rapper or artist, or a R&B singer, a gospel artist, whatever, well, gospel artists will be a little different because your message makes the big difference on it along with your sound. But if you're going to be a mainstream artist, what are they doing out there already? What sound do you want to bring? Also, even if you know, say like some people might say, well, I really love R&B, but I love the 90s. A good bulk of the people love 90s R&B. That's a style you can bring back as long as you got a good song. You have the melody is right, the hook is right. Those are the principles of writing music. You got to have the hook, you got to have the catchy title, you got to have the catchy melody, everything that people going to want to bop to. They're going to rock their head, they're going to be like, oh yeah. You will want to be able to write something and have music there to be like, even if they never want to listen to the lyrics, but the beat captures them. It's always about the beat, the melody, and the hook of a song. That's going to gravitate people to you. If you got those components, and then you also are good on top of that, really good, not just because your family told you good, like you're really, really good. I mean, honestly, that makes a difference. And it's just like, just kind of go off subject a little bit. One of the lost techniques that's out here right now is A&R, artist development. You don't have that. You don't have people telling people, nah, that sounds not really good, you need to go back and write it over. Those things are missing these days. Back in the days, the artists did that. You had somebody working with you, letting you know what is really good. What is the sound that's out there? It's your research. That's your market research. That's why being an entrepreneur, coming from that mindset, because as a business owner, we do market research. We look at what's out there. We look at our competitors, all those things. Same thing with a music artist. So that's how in a sense, what to really put out there. And really just like, it's just the ear to the beat, ear to the ground, and see what's really popular. But also, if you're good enough to create your own trend, like this morning, are you familiar with John Baptiste? He's a mainstream artist. I just heard about him this morning. He was on To Today Show on NBC. This dude is like pretty much created his own lane, and he's more on that. Oh, yeah. I can't even tell what genre he's in. I mean, but he's energetic. His music is catchy. He has a lot. It's all of that. And I'm just like, yo, this dude, I might want to follow him just because of what I saw this morning. That's what you want as an artist. And, and I think that the art and some music is gone because sometimes some people always want to gravitate to what the trend is. And, nobody really steps out with a new sound or anything like that. But if you're good, like I said, if you're good and you got all the right components when you're writing your music, then you have no problem. But that's how you can identify your target audience, and then you go after them. Another good thing too could be if you're like, some artists may have a passion attached to their music. It could have somebody that went through cancer, their mother or their father or whatever, and they have a message in it, whether they're mainstream or they're gospel or inspirational, then that message is what you want to convey. Then you know that audience on top of your target audience, there's going to be a special audience you can reach. So, but having that plan behind it and being strategic with it really makes all the difference when you're going after your target audience.
Okay, you brought up an interesting point. Gospel music. Let's talk. Let's touch on gospel music for a minute.
Okay.
Is there? I mean, because we say, okay, gospel music / Christian music, whatever you want to, whatever you want to call it, is ministry. Is there room for marketing in ministry? And what I mean by that is, we look at R&B artists, particularly male R&B artists. There was a time where we looked for a certain look. You know what I'm saying? They had to be really very fit.
Right.
They had to be, very sensual. The baby hair, 360 waves, or
right.
or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The R&B singer uniform. You know what I'm saying? But in gospel music, we are conditioned to, we're supposed to be looking at one particular thing. We're technically not supposed to be looking at the whole thing. We're supposed to be listening for the ministry, and we're listening for the Holy Spirit or whatever God is saying through this person. But is there room because it seems like it almost seems like an oxymoron to say marketing and ministry at the. It's almost like they cancel each other out. So
You trying
what
to
do
get
you
me
say
in
to
trouble with this question?
that?
Look, I don't sugarcoat. You know, when it comes like I have these conversations a lot with my best friend, and the issue with gospel music is the only genre of music that's limited because they limited themselves, and it's a special genre because of the message, because there's the ministry behind it. However, it should still be marketed. You know, it doesn't cancel it out. You know, how can you do something at excellence and really get it out there if you don't really do the work? You know, and I think a lot of times because of the religious side of things, you know, and no offense to anybody out there, how I'm answering this question, no offense to any artists, gospel music artists, or even churches, what I'm about to say, because even churches limit themselves by not really operating completely as they could. And so, because they look at the ministry and they feel like, oh, we have to separate business from ministry because that's not right. You know, we shouldn't be doing this because it's all about God's work. But at the end of the day, how can you even, you know, keep track of the things that's coming into your church if you're not really keeping track of it? You know, you still have to be a good steward over it. So, and it doesn't really discount you from doing the things in the work of the ministry and things like that. Same way it is with gospel music. I've seen so many gospel artists, you know, I think it's twofold. One part is because of the ministry and people, how they really take to certain artists because of their uniqueness and how they want to just stand out. And they feel like the church don't want them. Then you have the part where people feel like, oh, because it's ministry, then we can't really operate a business. We can't really market our music the way we should. But then why are you doing it? You know, you can't always go to sing at the same churches all the time. Like if your whole goal is to get out there before the public, how can you really get out there in the masses with the message that God has given you in music if you don't market yourself? It doesn't hurt it. It's not like it's going to discount it or it's going to take your anointing away if you market or handle your business correctly, you know, when it comes down to it. So I really feel like a lot of artists, gospel artists, will limit themselves in that manner because they don't look at the full picture. They don't. Honestly, they don't. And I see it a lot. And I see a lot of times where, and this is what I see. This is not like I'm like disconnected from it or whatever. Like I'm in groups. I follow a lot of people. I see the posts that they put out. I see the comments that are there. And I'm just like, yo, y'all still limiting yourself. You're the only genre. CCM, Christian music, Dove, like you have every genre within that genre of music. You got pop Christian, you got, you know, rock Christian, you have everything, and it's accepted and it doesn't get rid of the message, but they're doing well. They have the money coming in to support the ministry that they're doing. You know, you have it to it, and you have to have money. You have to have money to do the things you need to do. You know, it's not like you can always think, oh, well, this might give me a love offering or whatever. But at the end of the day, when it's time for you to do another project, you're scrambling. You know, there's a way of handling everything, and it doesn't discount who you are in God. It doesn't discount your ministry in the music and the message of it. But it's the same thing. You know, you just keep the same process going and you market. So yes, it's a lot of room to market, you know, and it's not just about social media. It's not just about just only the social media marketing. You have so many different outlets and everything. It's not always about just getting your music all on internet radio, you know, because if you don't have a plan, then you're not getting on syndicated internet radio. You know what I'm saying? Things going to help you chart your music. You know, how can you, like I said, you have to get that vehicle moving so people can know that you're there to hear the message that you're there to give.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it's a lot. I'm gonna stop right there because I know I just kind of.
Well, I mean, you did hit on a touchy subject, but before I get to that, I was talking to an artist a few days ago, and he was saying how he had opened up for a major artist
Mhm.
not too long ago, and I guess he was told. First of all, he tried to like get a picture with these artists and couldn't get it, even
Mhm.
though he was opening for them, whatever.
Yeah.
That was a whole nother thing. But he was told later on by his management, who got it from the management of the group that he opened for,
Mhm.
that they said to him he needed to decide whether he was going to be a minister or an entertainer. And basically, how he explained it to me and how he took it was that while his message was clear
Mhm.
and while he was very powerful in the message, he was not. There was an entertainment element that was missing. Now this is gospel. This is Christian music. This is gospel music.
Mhm.
And I mean, what do you say to that? Like, what do you say to that?
So okay, so let me make sure I got it right.
Okay,
So you said that the person told the other person he needs to decide whether they want to be a minister or entertainer.
right. The group's management told his management, I guess after watching him do his thing, that
Mhm.
told him he needed to make a decision. Did he want to be a minister or did he want to be an entertainer?
Now, was he ministering without entertaining, or he was entertaining and not ministering?
He was ministering but not entertaining.
Okay. So
The, the
to
message was
me,
clear, seemed to
mm,
be clear
yeah.
and powerful or what have you, but the entertainment element was missing, meaning, I guess he wasn't moving around the stage enough, or maybe he wasn't dancing enough, or maybe he wasn't like interacting with the crowd enough.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say in something like that, who is to tell somebody what their style should be?
Mhm.
You know, and in this segment, and based in within this confinement of this question, um, if that person is all about moving hearts and doing what they're supposed to do, and they're just out there singing, if that's what they're supposed to do, then that's what they do. If they're doing it well, they do it well. It's like that's when you have to kind of separate, because you have so many different. So you have those who minister through music. You
Mhm.
know, you have the Tasha Cobbs. You have, you know, the
William McDowell's.
yeah, all this. You have those people that are, and that's what they do. That's what they're there for. That's and they make sales. Okay. On the flip side, they get into sales or whatever, but that's what they do. Then you have the Ty Tribbett's. Then you have the Kurt Franklins. That's just their lane. They do altar call and pass off. You know, that's his lane, you know. But I to this point, Jana, hi. You know, I've seen some people do altar calls at the end of the concerts.
Mhm.
Lecrae did it at his Unashamed tour. I saw that. You know, they had people there to minister afterwards.
Mhm.
So, you know, if that's the purpose for the whole concert or the performance or anything like that, you know, then that's just what it is. But who is somebody else to tell them what they, you know, should decide to do? To me, that's just like you just stay in your lane when it comes down to it. If it's not affecting what you have going on, you know, um, you know, you can't ask me deep questions like that. I'm gonna answer the way I like.
Right.
I
But I
don't.
mean, that's what this is. But that's what this is for. Like, uh,
Yeah.
I think that there has been like a severe lack of transparency when it comes to this type of thing, because people don't want to comment or they don't want to voice their opinion on certain aspects of Christian music.
Hmm.
And the thing is that as artists, it almost feels like you're feeling around in the dark, hoping that something catches, because this group of people might feel like, nah, like you said, if the ministry is ministry. But then there's another faction that says, he need to be doing some out there like Usher. You know what I'm saying? He need to be like spinning or moonwalking or something, whatever. I need to see that in order for me to be entertained or
Right.
fulfilled or whatever the case may be. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's almost like, these we're feeling around in the dark, hoping that something catches because there's so many different things. Or again, people won't say. They won't say anything. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Until after you do what you do, and then that's when they critique it to death.
And see, that's the issue. I mean, that's the issue with church people. That's the issue. People are so busy in everybody's lane. They're so busy looking at what other people are doing and what they're not doing and all this other stuff. I mean, and it's like you carry that same mentality into the artistry.
Mhm.
You and you see that same type of stuff go on. And that's the same reason why, just like people leave a church because of stuff like that, people end up leaving gospel music because of that. And the next thing you know, they're singing,
Right,
R&B, or they're
right,
trying to sing clean R&B, something that's going to make it fit because their set of genre is not accepting. So they're going
right,
to go to who's going to accept it,
right,
and that's mainstream. Now, hey, if
right.
it goes to mainstream, people, get delivered and all this. Hey, who's you to say what it's supposed to be?
Right.
It's nobody's decision to make but that person who's in it. And that's the issue when it comes to gospel music. People don't know how to separate it from that mindset that comes with churches sometimes. You
Now
know,
with that, now with that being said, like going back to the whole imaging thing. Okay, so I'm I'm 6'3", 6'4",
hmm
215 pounds, and I'm lean, I'm ripped. You know what I mean? Six pack, the whole nine.
yeah.
But I'm singing gospel music. Like, should that be a should I should there be a conscious effort being made?
I'm trying to think, who was that artist that actually did stuff like that? What was his name? He was out a few years ago.
Man, should that be a part of my branding? Should that be a part of my, because it sometimes in some cases it does seem a little overt in some people's cases where you look at the person and you're like, okay, I know that you're trying to accentuate that too, but seriously though, it should that be a part? If I'm a if I'm an artist, a Christian artist, should my look, should my image play somewhat of a role
I
in?
mean, you should still have some tact, in what
Mhm.
you do, because of you don't want it to ever discredit your message that you're trying to get across. Okay, it's no sex appeal. um, I mean, you can't help if you're ripped, and you can't help that you tall or whatever. But what you can
Right.
help is how you not saying you got to dress like suits, but don't have something you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to the club,
Yeah.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, be who you are. And that's the other part. People don't let people be who they are. I'm not saying you got to come out there with the tightest skirt on for the ladies, or you got to come out there with a muscle shirt on because you want to appeal to the ladies, all this other stuff. No,
Yeah.
still be who you are. You have people like Jonathan McReynolds and all. You still see that they're who they are. They do have tact to what they how they dress, but you want to be able to still be who you are. And if you're unique in your dress and your how your what your apparel is going to be, then yeah, I mean some taste there, yeah, let it be tasteful, but still don't let it take you away from who you are
Mhm.
as an artist. You could have somebody, if it wasn't even that, what if somebody had like you said, tattoos and green hair, but
Mhm.
they worship
Right.
and God shows up. Like, who's to say who they're supposed to be?
Right.
And that's and it takes me back to that's that mindset that you find in some churches, and they take that into the area of music, and then that's why so many people leave the gospel music. That's why they try to do something different because of the same thing. You can't micromanage somebody's when it comes, like, I know is different when it comes to gospel music, how we're talking about, because mainstream is mainstream. You know, people get out there or whatever. But because you still have to reflect a standard. That has to still be there.
Mhm.
But it's still not a other person's place to tell you how that really look,
Mhm.
or how that sound should really be, or if you should figure out if you're going to minister or entertain. Yeah, everybody's not going to be an Israel Houghton.
Right.
Everybody's not going to be a Ty Tribbett.
Right.
You know, so it's like, if that's where you're at, and that's where that you have that gift to do, and people, people buying your music.
Right.
It's not the audience is talking about it like that. It's those in the church.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's hindering. It's very hindering when it comes to that. When people can't just really be. That's the same thing with Christian hip hop. Gospel rap, Christian hip hop has always been on the outskirts. They've always been the black sheep of music, of gospel music,
Mhm.
because people don't accept it. They look at it, oh, why you gotta sit here and rap? That's for the work. Nah, it's still a form of music. It's still a form of
Mhm.
art. It's poetry behind music. It's poetry. That's it. With music, that's all rap is. It's
Right.
poetry. And this is what you're using to be your vehicle to get out there and still say, look, yeah, I'm still saved, I'm still a Christian, but I'm not a singer, I'm a rapper. Let
Right.
it be. And that's why you don't have, I think even with Christian hip hop is really doing a little bit more, because even now it's more accepted, and even in Stellars
Mhm.
now than what it was in the past.
Right.
So it's, there's a small thing coming, when it comes to it, it's gradually growing, but it's still not where it could be. It's still underground.
Right.
And you have some artists really make it, and those that really make it, they're not on the gospel set. They're in CCM.
Mm.
The ones who really make it and they're big are either underground and they're independent and they're just doing their thing, or they're CCM artists like
Wow.
Fame and Lecrae. Lecrae was CCM. His biggest market was the CCM crowd,
Mm. Wow.
because he traveled with Billy Graham Association. That's how he made it. That's
Wow.
what his main. I mean, he still had his, 116, selling, CDs out the car. That's how he started, but he ended up traveling with Billy Graham Association.
Wow.
So you had that he had that CCM market. And the same thing like with Flame, it's the CCM market. But when it comes to gospel, who do we have really?
Wow.
You
Wow.
know what I'm saying? When it comes down to a real gospel artist. I mean, we had Cross Movement.
Right. That kind of fizzled out.
That fizzled
Um.
out, and they came in, had their own thing going on, ambassador and all. But it, over time, that fizzled out. Even with, I think Ambassador got a new CD coming out though. Well, not CD. He has new music coming out. I'm
You
sorry,
said
Dave.
who does?
Ambassador. I think he's coming
Oh,
out with.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
But gospel. I mean, it's now you start to see it. Even in Stellar Awards, they're now having a category for it. But how long
Right.
did it take
Right.
to be accepted?
So right. So not to cut you off. I'm sorry. Were
You
you?
good?
Um. In your book, you place particular importance on building a team. Why is having a team so important?
You can't do everything by yourself. That's even with regular entrepreneurship. Anybody, you really can't do it. You'll get burnt out. Um, you can, especially if you don't have a plan. That's why it's so good to be strategic, and then how to place people where they need to be, and the type of people and where they need to be. But it's really important to have a team, because as an artist, you know, like I say, you already thinking as a creative, number one, and to try to add on all the different components, like if I'm talking about entrepreneurship, that'll drive somebody crazy. But
Right.
I want you to get there, but
Right.
it helps to make things go over so much easier. And then even with that, it's not just having anybody on your team. You know, you want somebody. A lot of times people will put certain people in place on a team because they don't really have the funds to really, go out and hire somebody professional. So
Mhm.
they may, those who say, oh yeah, I'm here to support you, they'll put them in a role and have them to do something. But
Right.
make sure they know how to do it and do it well. Don't put them in like you're as a business manager when they really good at social media. Let them go ahead and run your social media, but not run it to where they take over your engagement, because you really still need to be engaged with your audience yourself. But let them at least, manage the content that's put out there. So that way you can focus on, showing up in a video or on a live or something like that, but you want to have that team to, even if it's like the social media part, if it's somebody who's going to handle the marketing piece for you, it's not just social media marketing. That marketing person, especially if you have a small team, that marketing person can, they can kind of slash his radio promo, just until you could hire a promoter.
Right.
So, because that's all it is marketing. You're just marketing to the radio stations. That's it. But they could be that voice for you, but you put it in place. Let people operate in their strong suit. And then if you have somebody who's really good at administration, then maybe give them some of the administrative tasks that you would need to do in your music business, but also still thinking about the entrepreneurship side and how to really handle those things. And that way somebody can really, be maybe kind of sit in as a manager, and they can learn the ropes. Everybody learn from somewhere. Just like the music industry started based upon people just doing the work. That's the only reason why you had, and they did it well, and they did it rinse and repeat, and kept doing it. And then you got a big old corporation and industry that people look at. They started just like they were indie. You got indie managers, you got indie A&R, you got indie. Everybody starts from someplace, but it's all about how you build up to it. And that's one of the things in the book. I talk about the label frame of mind. Indie artists, you if you're doing all this work, you're in the studio, you're picking out your music, you're looking at your producers, you're doing all these things. You're really acting as a label. You are a label. That's your business. The only difference is the labels, the major corporations have the resources. They got the human capital. They got the capital. They have a team of people that to do all the work that, their forefathers did at one point. They had to hit the ground, so it's the same thing. So it's just like, but if you're really looking at it from that standpoint of entrepreneurship, it helps you to be more strategic. And one of the quotes in the book that I really love is the fact that said that an educated artist creates leverage. And when you educate yourself in these manners, in these ways, I mean, you still have artists, they don't have a team. They may go to a conference, they may get a book, they still don't know how to do things right, but they still miss out on all their royalties because they didn't sign up for the associations that they need to sign up for.
Right.
So it's like, you want to count your coins, count it right, So it's a lot of different things to really, look at when it comes to it. But, I'm going to stop there. This is like a passion of mine. I want to keep on.
No, I mean, that's absolutely what you're here for. And you know what? I think that it's tough for artists to take themselves seriously in that space. You know what I'm saying? When you in the creative part, that's not the easy part, but the easier part, because that's what you do most naturally. But to think of yourself as a label, as a label or as a business person, I think that it's it's scary for some artists to even see themselves in that space. So even to the point where when you refer to them in that way, they kind of laugh it off and like, you crazy, whatever. But like you said, everything that they're doing is in the vein of what a label or a label would do.
Yeah.
What would you say? I guess it's really no answer to it, but like, how can we combat that? You know what I'm saying? Being able to take yourself serious in that, not just in the creative space, but in the business space too. What would you recommend to a person who has trouble seeing themselves in that way?
It's a mindset shift. That's really the answer. It's shifting the mindsets. A lot of times, a lot of artists, they don't always listen to instruction. They don't always listen. And a lot of artists, if they've learned something a certain way, some and no offense to anybody out there, you guys, no offense at all. But some artists do think they know it all. And they will stick to that stubborn side of themselves and like, oh no, this is how I got it, but then they're limiting the possibilities and the potential that it can move even forward, even further, or whether, I wouldn't say faster because some things are just a process, but they can move that process along a lot easier if they had that mindset shift. So those are the things that I would, actually recommend to our artists. Even if I'm talking to somebody directly, I'm just like, look, hey, you know what? If you just shift your thinking a little bit and look at it from this perspective, it also helps that a person can convey things over to them in a way that helps them to think. You
Right.
know, it, some things just have to be said in a way to make a person think about it. You
Right.
think about it the right way to be like, you know what, that does make sense. When they get to that part of, oh, it makes sense, you got them. Then that's where you can lead them into where you want them to go in a direction that helps them to increase that potential,
Mm-hmm.
that they can have and won't limit themselves. Like one of the things that I know I've talked to artists in the past about, it was always a money thing. And I'm just like, well, sometimes you have to be creative. Like if you're working and you're doing your artistry on the side, like put some money to the side.
Right.
Be creative with what you're doing. Take some of the savings. You may not be able to get that music out, right away the way you want it to, but at least put it out with a plan. At
Right.
least do it where you have something to put behind it. And don't put it on autopilot because a lot of times you still got to manage that process.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would tell people, like, be creative about it. Everybody's not, a lot of times artists would think that as soon as they put something out, it's going to sell.
Right.
That's not always the case. And then right
Right.
now, the way music is now, the assets to it, even your downloads is not going to make you a lot of money
Right.
because you have streaming services. And as long as somebody can subscribe to a streaming service, they're going to pay for that and actually start your music, put it on a playlist and they could just put it on repeat as long as they're paying their monthly subscription fee. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to buy your music because they have access to it. The only way they would need to buy your music if they need to download it for something that they want to use it for.
Right.
That's
Right.
it. Because you can't download from your, streaming services.
Right.
So you're really not going to make money like that, not right away. So it's like it's so many moving parts that the digital age has created for indie artists to really, maximize their opportunities. It's always about touring and all this other stuff to make you do and merch. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is right now is to be creative with what you have. Set up the savings. Do it. If you know that you're still working on a project and it's not, and you already know it's not going to be released for another 6 months, put some money to the side.
Right.
Just put some money to the side. Or do things or create that merch. And make some money off of that,
Right.
and attach and be creative and be attach it to your project. There's so many
Right.
different ways to be creative with it, but it's just all about the mindset. It's all about how you think about things, and it helps when you are open-minded as an
Right.
artist.
Wow. So you were an artist at one point. You were uh
You remember that? You remember me telling you that?
yeah, you were a rapper at one point. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
know where
retired
the
rapper at that.
it, you said what?
I'm retired too, so don't ask me to say.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Uh
Yeah.
all rappers say they retire.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so I know where some of your passion,
Yeah.
comes from. During the process of creating this book, was there anything that you learned about yourself that you
Mm.
didn't know prior to going that you didn't know going into the process? What's one of the most profound things you learned about yourself that you might not have known prior to?
That I could do it.
Mm,
It was something about let me just show everybody the book. This is the book, y'all. It was something about when I wrote the book and when I finally finished it, because it really could have been finished a long time ago. When I went to hit submit, I still paused. I don't know why, but I did. I submit and did everything. I was sitting here like, oh my God, Sasha, you really doing this. You're really doing it. And because there's been times where I thought about writing books. Okay, yeah, I did. I thought about writing books a long time ago, and I would just write it out, write a couple of paragraphs. Oh, I got my chap, but I never did anything with it because it's all also um, discovering your voice as well
Mm, mm,
comes with it, and that confidence to know that people are really going to read this book. But you could be as confident as you can be. Sometimes it's always that if you're doing something that you know is a major move for you and it's getting you out of a comfort zone, sometimes that thought will still be there, like, will they really accept what I have to say in this book? So it's
mm,
discovering my voice and knowing that your voice starts when you really have a thought. Your voice really starts inwardly first, but
mm.
when you speak it out. So this was me speaking out. And I ordered my own book because I didn't have time to wait for it, my author books to come in. So I went and I primed myself.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Primed myself. That was my first purchase, official purchase. But when I got the book in hand, that's why I'm holding it. When I got the book in hand, it made the process so surreal. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I finally did it. Like, everybody might say the book is a quick read. The book is, it's a little look at it.
Yeah. But
There
that,
is
I
no
mean,
way it should,
that's all it should be.
yeah, but there's no way it should took like 8 months or not even 8 months. There's no way it should have taken 6 months, 5 months, whatever long it took. But it was also me even discovering more of who I am. So that's what I found out about myself, and just being full transparent, it was like, yeah, I showed up and I was actually able to do it, and to not just think it, not just say it, but I actually did it. And
Mm,
that right there was like, yeah, Sasha, you could do anything now. You did this.
right.
So
Right.
yeah, that was a
That's funny
personal
because
moment.
I was just saying that to this the same artist that I was alluding to earlier. We were talking, and we were talking about some music or whatever, and he was like, what's your plan? And just like you said, at this point, I just want to complete something.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's the goal, to complete something. I mean, from the thought to the actual act and the completion of that act.
Mhm.
That in and of itself is so important. I think that not just music, but anything that you go into as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
it's a test for. I believe that it's a test for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a test for the person that's creating it. It's a test for the person that says, as soon as you release that song, or as soon as you release that book, or as soon as you make that T-shirt, I'm
Mhm.
gonna buy that I'm gonna support that. I'm gonna tell everybody, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's a test for air. It's so big because it tests people's. It forces people to back up whatever it is that they're saying,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
it be from the entrepreneur and the consumer. So
Yeah.
it's that's so big.
Yeah.
Um, if you could only give me one chapter from the book,
Mhm.
what chapter would you give me? I'm sure I know that the whole project is important, but if you had to choose, if you were referring to me, what what chapter would you say, if you don't read anything else, that chapter is the one, and why?
I would say, no, I'm actually going through it. I would say label frame of mind, chapter 3.
Okay,
That would be the one.
okay, why?
It sums it up. It sums it up, because it shifts the person, an artist, to look at the fact that if you're putting your own music out there, that's really who you are. Everything else around it, that talk about entrepreneurship, that builds the structure around it. But if you're operating with a label frame of mind, you're already doing the work. You're already doing it. You are your own A&R. You are your own marketing team. You are your own publicist. You are, you are your radio promo person, unless you have somebody doing it. But you're the one going out there saying, "Hey, play my music. Download this or whatever." You're doing all the work. So why not just add the LLC to it and build the structure around it? And look at it from a standpoint of, okay, I'm not just a creative, but I'm a creative entrepreneur, or I'm an artistpreneur, and go about things. Because, at the end of the day, I like to say this, at the end of the day, the IRS, they want you to file taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll say this is going to be the only thing you do, then they still want you to report your money.
Right.
And in this case, they're going to look at you as a business owner, whether you're an independent contractor or not. You still got to file a Schedule C. Or if you're, partnership, I'm not going too much taxes, but there's other forms you could file too. But they still want you to do it. So it's like, why not maximize that opportunity? If an artist is working and you filing your taxes, like all the stuff that you pay out, your expenses, because you're paying out more money than what you're actually making, and you make it a legit business behind it, is so much more you can claim. And that helps you as an artist because you're working. It helps you to increase your refund. Or, maybe you won't owe. So many things, but like, I ain't get to all the tax part. But, it's so many different ways that things can benefit you. And that's one of them. Your copyrights are considered assets. When you copyright your music, it's considered as an asset to the IRS. So which it is. Your masters is your asset. This is all, when you're looking at it from a business perspective, you're not just saying, oh, this is just my song. This is just my, back in the days, we could say this is my CD, But now you can actually say, when you have that business component behind it, you can say you have assets. And how can you maintain that for sustainable growth? How can you sustain yourself as an artist? It's always, the end goal should be longevity. And a lot of times artists will get out there and they just produce it. That's why I said sometimes they put themselves on autopilot. And one of the tips I like to give out is the fact that when you go through your aggregator, when you're going through DistroKid or CD Baby, you put it out there, right? You're on every platform automatically, streaming service, whatever. Spotify is really, I've heard some people don't really like Spotify too much because royalties are very, cheap and low, but they are really good when it comes down to using it as a strategic marketing process. That's the way you're building your fans. So when you're looking at it from that point, you look at more strategy from a business perspective versus as a creative. That means you go ahead and set up your account, manage that process, because they're good for indie artists. They have the whole platform. They encourage indie artists to do that. But if you don't do it, you never know. So you don't put in your social media, people hear your song, they don't even know how to find you because you don't have all your marketing stuff in check. You don't have a website. You don't have all these things. So it's like, it's so many different components. But, like I said, I talk about this stuff all night. But but the thing is the labor frame of mind is the chapter. I definitely will pull out. That's my favorite one out of all of it. It's still on mute. Somebody tell me on mute.
What? Sorry about that. What would you say is the most common misconception people have about you right now?
Oh, I would say right now. Ooh, that's a good question. You asked me that last time too.
Yep.
So I gotta give a different answer this time, right? Or I should.
Unless you, I mean, if it's still the same, then it's still the same.
I would say right now, because I'm doing business a lot different than what I have done, and I have a lot of people now that are following me that never followed me before. I think the misconception is that I'm a newbie. So I've been in business for 20 years. I've worked with artists off and on for almost 20 years. One of my first artists that I worked with when he first started was Titus Jackson. And he was still singing covers in high school. I ain't trying to date him either. If he hear this, probably like, Dad, she's telling my
business. Shout out to Titus Jackson. Shout out to him.
He was my
Just a side note, I wanna shout him out because um I don't speak to him much, and I'm not claiming that he's my boy or nothing like that.
uh-huh.
But anytime I've ever reached out to him, whether it be a question, whether it be just a what's up, or whatever, he always responds.
Yeah.
He's very gracious, very cool. Um, he's just a good person. So
He
I
really,
really I wanted to shout him out on that.
yeah.
So,
Hey Titus, if you watching, what's up?
yeah.
Yeah, he's always been. Actually, I have to shout him out as well because he was the reason why I started managing artists.
Mhm.
And I was doing events I started doing events for the church I attended, and I booked him for one of the events. And then he was just like, well, since you're booking, don't you want to work with me? If you're doing this for the church, you can help me. I'm
Right,
like, maybe.
right,
We just had conversations and we talked. So he ended up being like a little brother to me.
right.
And we did this thing. And then that I just went on and it was another person I started managing. But that was like me saying, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to dust off my everything that I've learned over the years, with me being an artist. And I'm going to go ahead and do this thing. And I would say I had an artist before him, but he was my first gospel artist that I
Hmm.
started working with. And then from there, it was just others that came along the way. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm not a newbie. One of the things is just that people are not used to you. So the whole thing with me was the pandemic. Um, the pandemic really affected my business. And I was more so, I have always had a passion for working with music artists, and I had a passion with event production.
Hmm.
So, but my sole purpose was behind event production because that's where the money was at. Working
Right,
with artists, you don't make money right away.
right, 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 right.
So I had to bring in some money. And so that was the goal and that was the plan. So over the years, I did that. The pandemic happened. You know what happened to the event industry. So I actually relaunched my business. And when I did that, I said, I'm not going to be behind the scenes anymore. I'm going to come out as the face of my brand. So when I did that shift, everything changed, everything. And it's been a really good ride so far because I'm speaking, I'm doing a podcast, I'm the business strategist. I just summed everything up as the business strategist. And so, but I also, with that love for music and just my love for just helping people in general,
Hmm.
I want to see people succeed. And I'm just one of those type of people that I understand business and I understand it easily. And I believe so. My message right now to because people might be like, oh, why does she a business strategist? Why she write a book for music artists? You know.
Hmm.
And so my thing is the foundation of every industry is business. That's my message. And so this helps me to be able to work with a music artist. I could work with an author. I could work with anybody who is a creative, because I understand business as a whole. And that's just my niche. And so somebody, so you're like the entrepreneurial queen, like everybody always came to me for questions and all this other
Hmm.
stuff, and I always had to answer. And
Hmm.
so and just that's just part of my message now. That's part of my brand that I'm bringing forth in the forefront of everything. And but I still have to, you know still meet people who don't know me, and
Hmm.
have to convey that. And I say I have to, but I just put it out there. But one thing I would say sometimes, especially when I post it, I say I'm not new to the game. I just play it differently, and that's
Right.
just who I am. So I think that would be the misconception. It's like, oh, she's just a new kid on the block. Nah, I've been around for a minute. It's just that you didn't see me. Now you
Right.
see me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I was gonna ask you about the whole Christian artists being paid,
Uh huh.
asking you like when they go out and do these events or whatever, is it proper for Christian artists to have a fee
Yeah.
or honorary, whatever?
Yeah.
Um, that's a
Your pastor
subject.
have one.
And that and it's funny that you brought that up. I was speaking with an artist. Shout
Mhm.
out to Miss Daphne Hilton about this very thing. And it's like you go and do an event. They
Mhm.
ask you to come, okay, but they also employ a speaker, hire a speaker to come.
Mhm.
Now they might give you something, but the speaker's gonna get like this, and
Yeah.
you don't hit like they see it in a different way. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've heard both sides. Like I've heard people say, your gift is a gift will make room for you. So why are you asking? But then on the flip side of that is that I've heard people say no, because if you don't set a boundary or set a standard, then people will take advantage of that very fact. Well, you didn't tell me that you wanted 100,000, so I only gave you 150. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I only gave you $150. You didn't tell me you wanted 100,000, so I just gave you $150
Right.
or whatever. But I mean, that's a drastic analogy. But what I'm saying is that is it right? Do you feel what's your position on artists and having fees and stuff when they go up?
An artist should always have a fee. And the issue is twofold. The issue is one part of it is sometimes you have artists who exactly, Janet, you got to have the writers and contract. Some artists will look at it like, oh, this is just my gift. I want to just, but they have not set that structure with their, like Janet said, with that contract. And so when you set the structure with the contract, that's what you really need to. That performance contract is everything. And then how they take care of you is the writer. You got to have that in there because if they're going to book, if a church book a mainstream artist, or a big gospel artist, oh, trust me, you get in a contract with the fee and your rider. They got the hospitality rider, they got the tech rider, they're gonna have everything. And this is how you're supposed to take care of them. You still have churches that fall short on that. That's why some artists will complain about churches performing at churches.
Hmm.
Because then the church don't know how to handle their selves correctly because they will have an event and then they'll be like, oh yeah, we just gonna book so and so, but they don't even have a budget for it. So, and
Mm,
then they bank it on ticket sales, which really doesn't always work because you can't always guarantee somebody's going to buy a ticket. That's a
right.
promoter's mindset. You
Mm,
should always have that money there. You know, that's why I said, ministries should operate with a business model because then they have the money to do the work of the ministry. Or they could have these special events to bring in as a fundraiser, but at least they could take care of the people that they're bringing in. And
hmm.
then the fundraiser money comes in to support the ministry that they're supporting or the project. But and that's why I said the issue is twofold. You got people in churches who don't know how to do it right, and then you have artists who don't know how to set up themselves properly to make sure they get paid. And then the issue is the disconnect because everybody did everything wrong, and now you have an issue because then they'll look at it like, well, maybe the church will look at it. Oh, I just give them a love offering and just call it a day. Nah, but then the artist didn't have a contract for them to abide by.
Right.
But then you still
Right.
have some churches that might want to not try to get out the contract, don't want to pay because then they
Mm,
don't have the money at the
hmm.
end to pay the other half. So it's a twofold issue. That's a twofold issue when it comes down to it. But I believe that if everybody will operate in a standpoint of decency and order, the way we always want to say in church, when it comes down to the business side of things, then it would alleviate the issues and the problems that so many people experience, whether they're in the church or they're the artists. And because you have some people that have, granted, not all the fault is on the church, but then you have some artists that go into the church, act a certain way, then the church don't want to bring them back. And these
Mm,
are gospel artists.
mm,
So it should be a standard, yes, because you as a Christian artist, a gospel artist, and the whole thing is about integrity. You should really operate in that. But then the thing that helps to fortify you is to have those business practices and make sure that you handle your works correctly. And that's where the contracts come in at. But yeah, you definitely should have a fee. Now, how to state what your fee is going to be, that's on the artist. If they
mhm.
want to give a discount, they want to kind of work within the budget of the church, whatever like that, but still put that in writing. That's with anybody. even if you're freelance marketing or whatever business, whatever you're doing it for a service, always have a form of contract. Or just do everything word of mouth or just say, oh, I put it in the email. No, they ain't gotta abide by it, but they gotta
Right.
abide by that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things you put in place to protect you when it comes down to it. But yeah, every artist should have a fee. They should.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shout out to shout out to Miss Jana Parsons. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she is actually an artist manager,
Okay. Awesome.
and
Hey,
she
Jana.
met. Yeah, she's been doing it for a minute now. She has uh she has a stable of dope artists. She has an artist named Nakia Marie that has an album. You should listen. She
Yeah.
has an album called Breathe.
Okay.
You need to check that out. Her name is
Yeah.
Nakia Marie, like Nike with an A.
Okay. I definitely
She
check it
has
out.
a song called Necess. You are necessary.
She got you singing.
Oh, 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 that song is so powerful. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And then
Yeah.
she also has an artist named Patrice Edwards, but she goes by Treese.
Hmm.
Dope rapper.
Yeah.
Dope,
Oh, wow.
dope, dope, dope rapper.
Awesome. Awesome.
They're
I'll check
both
both of them out.
they're both Billboard charting artists.
Good.
And she also has an artist named Dana Fields,
Hmm.
um, out of Pennsylvania, I
I think
believe.
I heard of Dana.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, 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 awesome. Shout out to JP.
All
She
right.
and
Janet,
she's
I mean,
been,
Janet, you're doing some good work out there, girl. Thank you.
yeah. I think
Congratulations.
you guys might be friends on Facebook or something. I think she mentioned that to me earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we are.
yeah,
I think so. Definitely, we need to stay connected, Jana.
yeah. Please check them out. I'm telling
I
you that,
will.
man, I feel like singing it right now. That I wake up to that song a lot of mornings. I'm telling you. But
Yeah.
this will be my last official question. I've asked you this question before,
Okay.
but let's see how your answer has evolved over time.
All right.
So, what would have to happen in your life if it
Mm-hmm.
has not happened already for you to consider your life a success? What does success look like to you presently and
Yeah,
specifically?
I would say success is accomplishing my goals.
Okay?
Accomplishing the goals. I say that because we can be our worst enemies and hold ourselves back. And just actually accomplishing all those goals. And the second part would be, okay, yeah, you always want to make money, you want to reach that high level, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But money is not everything. It's the sustainability and the longevity of growth. And that's where I want to be. And then also a part of that success is seeing the people that I work with, that I help be successful as well, because it's bigger than us. What we do is so
absolutely.
much greater than who we are. But I do want to mention this real quick. I'm sorry.
All right.
I want to go back to it earlier when we talked about branding, because I do want to make sure that people understand that there's a difference in your corporate and your personal and business branding. So
Okay.
I just definitely wanted to kind of throw that out there. I know it's like so far back or whatever, but that was some
No,
point.
please, please go ahead. Hey,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
um, I want to thank you for coming on again,
Thank you.
um, and allowing this platform to help illuminate your project. Um, you have been super awesome, and the fun slash frustrating thing about it is that as much as we've talked about here today, I still feel like we just barely scratching the surface of what,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, I reserve the right to have you back on again for maybe a part two or part three, maybe. I
Right.
don't know.
You're part three.
Um, but again, I really appreciate you. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and get your advice or seek your assistance on some
Mhm.
stuff or whatever, um, how could they get in touch with you?
You can contact me if you're on Facebook, just inbox me, Sacha Walton. I have like a red dress on, the only one with a colorful background picture and all that stuff. But you also can email me at info@swimgtgroup.com. I'm also on Instagram. That girl Sash is SACH. And yeah, just reach out to me on social media or just go ahead and email me. You can reach out. And then also you can, if you're interested in purchasing the book, you can go to my website. It's also on Amazon, but you go to my website, which is www.swim, M as in Mary, G as in George, T as in Tom, group.com. And you go / Beyond the Music and it'll take you there. But if you do a search on Amazon, Beyond the Music, it'll show up. And this
Wait,
is
what is it again? You said it's SW?
SWIMGTgroup.com. So it look like swimgtgroup.com is the website, and / Beyond the Music.
So again, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'm just putting this in the chat right now.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been fun. Hopefully I wasn't too long with all my answers to the questions.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, you know, one of the things I've learned doing this, it's really helped me when it comes to conversation, because you have some people that, like yourself, who I can just flow, and it just it flows. Yeah. But then there are other situations where you kind of have to pull it out. You gotta. It's really helped me to be able to do that. But that's not the case here. You know what I mean? You know, it makes my job a lot easier. and you get out what you want to get out. You know what I'm saying? And people get to hear more of you as opposed to me. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Perfect. So all right. Thank you.
Again, I thank you and I appreciate you for just coming on and sharing your wisdom. And again, I look forward to having you on again in the near future. Could you lift up your book again and show everybody Beyond the Music, y'all. Beyond the Music.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So with that being said, I just want to, again, thank you for coming on, and I wish you a great night and an even more awesome weekend. Happy Father's Day to your father or your father figure or your mentor, who's father, whoever.
Happy Father's Day to you and everybody else that's out there. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Juneteenth, absolutely. Can't forget about that. Yes, ma'am. But again, I thank you.
Thank you.
You have an awesome night.
You too. All righty. Thanks. Bye.
There you have it, y'all. Another awesome guest, Miss Sacha Walton, a returning guest, sharing some of her wisdom about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in the music business. But you know, again, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is making information accessible to whomever, you know, wants it. You know what I'm saying? Like interviews like this, I really enjoy because I feel like I'm kind of helping, kind of being a pipeline of the cheat code to all those who may be aspiring to do just that. And so with that being said, I typed the link in the chat, her email in the chat if you want to get the book. If you want to hit her up, ask her a question, maybe solicit some of her services. Just pick her brain, you know what I'm saying? Hit her up. Her name is Sacha Walton. Her business is SWI Management Group. um, and share, if you are not the person, if you know somebody, share with them, you know, and do your thing. Let's forward the movement. Let's pay it forward. Let's promote, because I don't think that we do enough of that in our society, particularly. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of dope people, dope artists, dope managers, dope A&Rs, dope event planners, dope background singers, dope musicians, dope writers, but without us, where are they? You know what I'm saying? Without us lifting them up and praising them, giving them the attention that they deserve, they so richly deserve, and not only are we putting them on display, we're putting the gifts that God has given them on display, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Um, that's what it's all about, illuminating God's glory, his ability to place gifts within us all in order to impact one another and share with one another, feed and encourage one another. And so, with that being said, y'all have a great Juneteenth weekend, awesome Father's Day weekend to all the dads and all the moms who were mom and dad, like my mom was. Shout out to her. Um, Listen, to all the dads who work hard and who do, spend time with their children, who teach their children, who, it's just I didn't know how life could be until I had children. And I often say, I can't remember my life before them. And I definitely can't imagine my life without them after, since they, I can't see my life without them. Let me say it right. I can't remember how life was before they came, but now I can't imagine life without them now that they're here. They have brought so much out of me, and I am so proud of them, and they are so proud of me. And the crazy thing is that at the end of the day, and I'm sure a lot of dads can attest to this, you feel like you're just you. You know what I'm saying? You're just you. You're doing what fathers do, but but these little children, these little human beings, they love you unconditionally, and that's the craziest, dopest thing in the world. And so I'm going to spend my entire life, the rest of my life, trying to please God and live up to the expectations that not only my God has for me, but that my kids have for me as well, because I love them so much. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. Happy birthday, if it's anybody's birthday, whatever the case may be. All right. Say what?